Welcome, everybody, to Innate Interviews. I am your host, Dr. Haig John, and I have my good friend, Dr. Evan Hughes, joining me tonight, and I'm happy to have him. We graduated, went to school together at Life University. Welcome, Dr. Evan Hughes.
Thank you, sir. I came across a picture of you and I in the room with Sid the other day,
Is
and
that right?
that brought back some feels.
Do we have hair in that picture?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
I'd like to see that one. You could send it. Maybe we'll post it with this when we do this podcast.
Nice, nice. Yeah,
So,
a couple
I've
things have
been
changed.
I've been following you, a little bit, and we chat through the years, and I've been seeing a lot of the work that you've been doing too, and you take care of a lot of kids. You do cranial work and SOT. Am I correct?
Yep, I've been doing an
How
SOT since I was a student.
and how is that journey? That's absolutely awesome. I love SOT. I've studied SOT and a lot of cranial work too, and with one of your mentors, with Dr. Marty Rosen,
Yep.
and tell me a little bit about that journey. Tell me about your journey. What's Tell me a little bit about Evan Hughes right now.
Well, I grew up getting chiropractic care, so my first adjustment was when I was a year old, and to me, it was no big deal. Of course, you got a chiropractor, but looking back, it saved my life. I actually had a digestive disorder that was causing me to lose weight, which at a year old, this isn't a good idea. And the pediatrician example was try crackers and Jello and see how it works out. And my mother read in an Edgar Casey book about chiropractic being affected by in little ones being affected by digestion. So for me, it was one adjustment, and that was actually a Dr. Newton at the time who did AK. And then so later in life, we learned, oh, chiropractic for kids, that's a thing. So my brother and my sister and I all got it. And we met Dr. Marty Rosen when he first started his practice and then stayed, with him ever since. And so my parting instructions from him when I left for chiropractic school was he said, get to SOT Club. And I said, yes, sir. So to me, SOT was just what chiropractic was. And then I learned, oh, you got other techniques? So that's funny. But it's really, I've been a lifelong martial artist. And so I love, doing a deep dive into a martial art and going, this is the way. And then you find out someone else is doing it a completely different way. And you go, all right. And there's, what do they call it in corporate America? The soft skills. When
Okay.
you learn one industry, like food service, for example, is an awesome example. And you can take some of those soft skills over to another industry, whether it's sales or even actually my favorite employees come from the food service industry. They just have an amazing ability to stay cool under pressure. They understand service and they understand dealing with hangry people
Yeah.
in those many facets. So
Mhm.
when it comes to chiropractic technique, I actually love to see the differences. It annoys me that toggle exists, right? That's too easy. What you're gonna bang on the atlas and what? It's gonna get to their toes? Well, the answer is actually yes. And I make sure to get tables now that always have a toggle piece because when I run into trouble, my algorithms don't work. I go, let's look for a toggle, and I do, and it often unlocks something, and I can continue. So, toggle I think really challenges us, to have a different viewpoint. Stuff like activator, those little weenie sticks. What a bunch of, but it works. And you can get into everybody's got our story of why. Thompson drop, great stuff. BGI, that's crazy talk. You're going to do little touches on people and you're going to watch them start to wriggle around on the table. That's nuts. And yet you can see the effects. So I am an SOT enthusiast, but I'm kind of a technique nerd. I really love to see how did you solve that problem? How did you do that? Um, I really believe the unified field theory of chiropractic, and it took me about 20 years to make this statement, but the chiropractic adjustment makes space.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and then you got to ask space for what? Well, that's a much longer discussion, about nerve impulses, the humors flowing through the body, life force. I mean, that gets bigger. But when I keep in my head as I'm deciding what to do with a person, I need to make space for that person to work. And that simplifies my explanation and it simplifies my own engineering computer as I'm walking up to the table to do the next thing. So
When you're talking about, the different techniques, I am an upper cervical guy is where I started. And I've studied S.O.T, all the techniques, because I'm a technique junkie. I love to absorb them. And there's a time where, hey, let's try this. Something is not working. And I mean working, the body's unable to adapt. I'm not talking about or adapting to change. It's going right back to a same pattern, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Not in curing a symptom, but really the body's unable to handle the stressor. It goes right back into something. And just having a few tools in your bag, and we can make miraculous changes, and where the body's getting back to a level of normalcy in reality, right?
That's one piece. And as you're talking, I'm realizing there's and I think I've always seen you do this, embracing failure. One of my favorite things to do at this level of practice, I'll go to adjust somebody in side posture and I whiff it, it doesn't work, they block it, I made the wrong choice, who knows, and I'll throw a fit. I'll go, oh God, oh, this is terrible. Oh, I have to give up and go become a plumber. And the person on the table always starts laughing because they know that the move didn't work like it did last time. I know that it didn't work. And what drives me crazy the most is when a doctor of chiropractic will adjust me and they'll go, oh, you're all set. I'm like, dude, I know that didn't work and you know that didn't work. What's the harm in saying, hey, I had a great idea and it didn't get the thing we needed, didn't clear our indicator. Let's try something else. And I think being in that space of curiosity of why what I did the last 50 times didn't work now, I'm actually excited. Like, huh, look at that. And it's kept me on the path of being not bored. I took there's two teachers of mine that were extremely important in S.O.T. Dr. Jerry Hockman, so I got to pay homage to my Life University.
Absolutely.
What would I call him? The steward of my S.O.T. journey there. But I took Marty Rosen's seminar recently, and I went, "Wow, this is fun." Picking up more things and more ideas. And I would love to see that more in chiropractors. That they're not taking a seminar to fix a weakness in the practice necessarily, or to make up for something. It's like, hey guys, this is our craft. These are our tools. Why wouldn't you want to learn more neat stuff?
Yeah.
And making money is wonderful. I'm a huge proponent of that. And you have to have fun.
Yeah.
So being able to do something in different ways. I think another thing I've learned as I got older, because I've been doing this 21 years now, right? Is there are some techniques that are really nice that I don't do anymore because my body hates it.
Hmm.
Right. That's enough of that. Let me find an easier way that my body likes it or works better with my flow. And sometimes techniques migrate in and out. I mean, that's a great place to be, is to have more than you need, an
Yeah.
abundance, right, of abilities. But then to get really clear on did I get the objective for that person or did I get lost in the weeds?
Well, you hit on something really important, is protecting yourself and being
Mm,
able to do this for 21 years. I'm flying to New York. I'm speaking in New York this weekend, and some of my friends are going to be there, and they've been practicing over 40 years and
mm,
still in practice and thriving. And I developed really innate adjusting. The seminar that I teach is to protect the chiropractor.
yeah.
And because I talk about shoulder injuries, elbow injuries, wrist injuries, everything exactly. And thank goodness, honestly, I have a good extremity guy to be able to
Yeah.
adjust me to keep my body in the game. Just Arno Bernier impressed this on us very early.
Funny.
God bless him, may rest in peace. That you train like a professional, and
Mm,
like a professional athlete, a professional golfer, a basketball player, football player, training your body to be able to do your job effectively and efficiently. Most of those guys have 5, 10 years maximum, maybe, that they play. We've
yeah.
got 20, 30, 40,
Mhm.
and we don't get paid like professional NBA stars, right? But
Well,
we should be. But
depends.
ultimately, we've got to protect ourselves. But that's where we find those nuances. And as we mature within the
Mhm.
system of service and chiropractic. And you and I were talking the other day about, just what we see now of coming out of school and coming out of places. We all, the step into who we think we are, but who we really are is really just beginning. And it takes that time and energy and mentorship to get us to shooting basketballs with our eyes closed and making them in championships, or I've seen you at some of the medieval fairs and, swinging these really cool broadswords. But, that's where we go at 20 years and still going to seminars. I've been in seminars where I've seen people that are, I mean, I thought they were retired and they're still in seminars
Got it.
enhancing their skill, right?
Yeah. There's a very old saying. I love this saying because it's more than 2,000 years old, uttered in a across multiple languages, and nearly everyone I know will recognize this saying. It was never written down. You never met the founder of this, but you'll recognize it instantly. It's physician heal thyself, right? And I love that one. Hopefully all the chiropractors are cool with the use of the word physician from back then, that translation. But when those words have echoed through time, and what I thought that meant initially was I have to heal myself to be ready for the accolade of doctor, for permission to serve people. And then once physician has healed thyself, like getting a degree, you're good. And it wasn't until later I went, oh, that's a practice. That's a thing that we're doing all the time is deal with your stuff. And it's getting clear, of your own health conditions. For one, that's huge. Another, I think, is a regular practice of getting better. Like you have to reach a certain level of skill before you're worthy of being a doctor. Nope, that isn't how that works. There's the path of mastery. There's a continued level, and it's not. One way to look at it is a duty. You could look at it like that, but I've kind of found the more jester-like quality of I just want to get better because it's fun, right? I'll boast for a minute. I'm good enough that I don't have to improve anymore. Right? I figured out enough stuff. I could practice for another 50 years and continue to serve people with only this knowledge. But man, not as fun, not as alive, as go out and pick some more things up. Additionally, I think a part of our technique, and this is something else I've realized in practice over the years, what did Arno say? They're not a piece of meat. They're a human being with a belief system. Those are the person in front of you. And so something I particularly love to look at is when someone irritates me, and I know we're all truth and light and love and accepting and crap, and sometimes people really irritate you. And particularly the ones, I mean, if somebody comes and poops in your office, you have to, okay, that's easy. You throw them out, right? You can't do that. But if they're just on the line of irritating you enough, that's when your blood pressure really comes up. And when you see them come around the corner, when they're coming for visit 25 in your care plan, you're like, oh my God, right? And I've learned just accept it. I'm angry, just be there and serve them as best I can. So then they do to the care plan. They don't want to continue on wellness. And you go, thank you. Thank you. They don't want to continue. Well, I wish them health, wealth, and great distance. But my sentence is over with that person that was driving me crazy, whatever it is. Okay. If that person comes back a year later, you see him on the schedule and you go, oh no. Oh no, I want to become a plumber. I don't want to be a chiropractor. If this person's coming and they come in and they don't bother me this time. And I go, I evolved. I'm no longer irritated by that behavior. I've figured something out. I figured out how to navigate the conversations that are difficult. When a person comes in and they're whining and complaining every time, you learn your moves. You learn your way of practice flow. And that I think we were talking about this at one point. I think what really put this profession under pressure, actually every profession under pressure, were the lockdowns. The COVID lockdowns were absolutely brutal on everyone psychologically. But every chiropractor I know, we talk about the experience with our hands. Laying hands on human bodies changed as a result of greeting each other in the grocery store like this and putting the mask on and being in fear all the time. And I don't believe we've gotten it out of our psychology or our physiology yet. And the doctor of chiropractic, remember I was saying this the other day? I think we're dehydrated on like a spiritual level. And I think, there are some amazing doctors doing amazing things and there are some uplifting things, but to acknowledge the extra effort it took for us to be present during that time, it's important. And we had to certainly just, head down, go to work. Some people were very gregarious in resisting everything. I respect that. Being in Massachusetts, I chose the route of the ninja and I waited for people to come to me and then I tell them about what was going on. But I didn't fight it head on, but I was present with people. I was looking for sub-communication to bring about, hey, this is a different place. We're not doing that in the same way. And but even the tension on people that come in, those one of my favorite concepts is yet unexplored by science enough, in my opinion, is mirror neurons. And this is the idea that, The old studies, had two brains of monkeys wired up, and they were watching these brain monkeys do experiments, play with games. And one monkey looked over at another monkey, and a part of the brain lit up that they had never seen before when this monkey was watching that monkey. So then they figured out that humans do that too. We have a special set of neurons for when we're watching another person, where we begin to internally mirror that other human being. And this is the experience where you go into the room and, maybe your shoulder is fine and you adjust a person with shoulder pain, all of a sudden your shoulder hurts. We've all had that experience, right? And I believe we're mirroring with that person. And when I think about mirror neurons, it allows me to let go of the pain faster, to go, oh, that's not mine. That was me being in connection with them. So the
Yeah.
connection we all felt with culture at the time of COVID and the fear, I believe did get into the doctor of chiropractic, especially we're laying hands on. And it requires us to go, yeah, yeah. We not only have to have practices during COVID to let go of that vibration, that tone, but then also even afterwards, we're a few years from that. I think it's still in us, and we had an amazing gift we could give to people as we were adjusting them and breaking that pattern with something real. By the way, chiropractic is one of the most real things I've ever encountered, which makes it interesting when people doubt its existence. I go, nah, this is realer than most things you encounter during the day. Laying on of hands and changing the tone of a person. And there's so many different ways that can bring benefit to people. But yeah, certainly during lockdown and even the effects now continuing.
Yeah, I mean, remaining in practice, keeping our heads in service, and really what our belief systems are in reality. As a chiropractor, it's not necessarily a belief system. It's really is a scientific understanding of how the body functions, immune systems, and all those things. And but we all had the challenges during that time. Getting through it, that was some of the hardest parts. And I think that's when we saw a shift even in our profession where people went from wanting to open up their own practices to wanting to go work somewhere and not have to deal with anything anymore.
Mm.
And I've seen it quite a bit of that myself. With the younger ones coming out of school, that some of them are older than I am already, but that's where the path of least resistance I've seen because there was so much resistance to begin with.
Hmm. Well, um, I was thinking about the kinds of resources that we have, and if you're deciding, because I wrestled with that a lot. I started up right out of school, day one.
Me too.
Did you? Bravo, dude. And I don't recommend that to people. I don't recommend against it. And you're smiling because you know what I'm talking about. It
Oh
is. I
yeah.
I taught gymnastics to keep the doors open while I was trying to build the chiropractic office, and that was a tough year. I did get it done, but there are resources that we have available to us, and I like to lecture on five of these. And so
Okay.
my resources are. Do you remember George Carlin's seven dirty words you're not allowed to say on television?
I do, but I don't remember what they are.
Okay, well, we don't have to get into them in the podcast. We can keep
Okay.
it more but he did the seven dirty words. They were hysterical, but he George Carlin had the syllables right. And so from some inspiration on that, I'll give you my five and go into them. The resources we have, as anybody, but talking as the doctor of chiropractic: time, body, money, sanity, people. All right. So the first one, you got a certain amount of time. Now, when you're first in practice, you have a lot of time because there's nobody coming in and you have to figure out what to do. That's a resource, though. It's available. As you continue in practice, you realize you only have so many years in the earth. Also, so what is it? Sid Williams thing: act at once,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes there's a time to be soft and quiet and listen with that time, and sometimes act. And both of those, what is that? The middle path is don't waste time, but don't be afraid to spend time, right? Your body or your health. Well, we touched on that. How are your joints? Is your shoulder okay from doing your adjusting? And are you eating the good food? Because I don't know about you, when it goes in the crapper, for me, I go to Snickers. I don't know what yours are, but you're smiling. You got something, right?
Hey,
And
Reese's and Halloween, and my kids don't eat them. They throw it all away. I'm like, I
dude,
just take one.
your hand moves without your knowledge. It's the
Yeah.
back of the lizard brain, right? So the more we can be honest about, I love the carnivore lifestyle. My son and I cook a great steak, and right now I'm on a fast, lemon water day two. Hey, I can absolutely be on the pious path and tell you how good I am, and then I can also make the joke about I love Reese's too, man. So that's a real thing for the doctor of chiropractic. I know a lot of doctors of chiropractic that are overweight. And I'm going, did you miss some of the classes that I took, dude? I mean, nothing but compassion, but Yo, get in on that. Let's get lean. If you want to have a long career, it's a big one. Also for the joy of it. So, also lifting weights. That's chiropractic and lifting weights. Probably let's do that. By the way, I believe that everyone quits the gym because of subluxation.
Okay.
That's it. And if you're getting adjusted, somebody missed your subluxation. Somebody's missing something in the pattern because the gym feels good. It does, and it feels good before, during, and after. I know it's hard, but if the gym doesn't feel good, you're subluxated somewhere and somebody missed it. That's it. All right. So you got your time, body, money. Oh, sorry. You got your money, right? Money is, what is this Sid Williams chant? Money.
Money.
And it's, why did he do that? Well, you got to accept that money is a part of this thing. Yeah, you want to serve humans. Great. You know what you need to do that? You need money to serve humans. And the more abundance you can draw into your own practice, you can serve from a place of abundance. And man, I know so many doctors of chiropractic who are talking and living large, and they were absolutely broke. And the practice goes down by 10%, and everybody's blood pressure goes up, and they're stressed out. And I went, "What is that, man?" I run my practice lean. I work with my hands, and I had a decrease. I had one year where my close rate was 85%. I was a closing machine. I was a magnet. People were attracting. I was making lots and lots of money. And there was one moment, there was like a 2 week period. I had 12 people come in, and I just smelled wrong. I was off something. And I went to my staff. I said, "What's our close rate for the last 2 weeks?" She slid the paper to me on the desk, and it was 0.8% was my close rate for that 2 or 3 week period. And I started laughing because I had some money in the bank because I was successful and I didn't mortgage myself to the hilt. And I said, this is a phase and I can just let it. And you know what I changed? Nothing. I just continued. And whatever happened within me or within the world finished, and I went right back to work. But that's the practice that I want to have, that isn't just the amount of money. The amount of money is good. Absolutely boast about that. But if you can take a 20% dip or a 50% dip even and not care, that's a different kind of wealth, right? So I know that's a difficult place to get to for many, but I think leveraging ourselves to the hilt is to our detriment, you know.
Absolutely.
So time, body, money, sanity. All right. I love the idea. There's two theories out there. There's spoon theory. I only have so many spoons that I can focus on stuff, but I like fork theory. There's only so many forks you can stick into my head before I lose the ability to concentrate or be nice to people. And so there's your sanity, there's your mental health, which is if you have children, that goes out the window, right? And, and I mean that in a fun way, but the knowledge that we do have certain times of productivity. I've got guys at my house remodeling it right now. So I've got a few forks in my head, right? So to know that those forks are in the head today, I'm not going to make any big changes in the practice. I'm going to show up, serve people, and have fun, and give myself permission to do a little bit less. Hopefully they will be finished soon. What's the big joke about renovations? 2 weeks. But I've already set up to do some dinner talks that are coming up. I've already set up to make some website changes. So some things are in the pipeline that are automatic, but those are set up when I have the focus,
Yeah.
right? When I have low sanity, I have to acknowledge that I am a human being. And when are you able and less able? And then also finding peace in life. What do they say, that, in your 20s and 30s, it's about accumulating. Ooh, I love stuff. Where's the more stuff? As you start to cross the line of 40 is when it's like, I love dump runs. Renting a dumpster is amazing. Donating to Salvation Army and letting go. And I think that that includes experiences, right? Wanting to see everything, yes,
Yes.
but making some space again
Yeah.
so that you can be sane and to make your choice, because it's not an instruction book, this thing. I don't know. I've looked for the books. You have, and I have, and it's more of a style that each of us have to develop. So then the last one, just to finish my thing: time, body, money, sanity, people, buddy Christ, right? And people are a resource in your life, and if you've built those resources and those connections, yeah, it helped me immensely to be in study groups. That was my most powerful tool in chiropractic school, and to go to
Oh
seminars
yeah.
and to be in person. That was mine. But even in practice, yeah, I almost get a little teary-eyed when I think about anytime I've been in trouble or anytime I wanted to shoot to the next level. I'd reach out to colleagues that knew things and that I had built relationships with. And humans are pack animals, man. And chiropractors are too isolated. That is our strength and our weakness. is that you can't cut my supply lines, right? Because these are them. But too much, we think we're doing it alone. But here's the other thing about people is that if you always call someone up asking for stuff, eventually they'll stop picking up the phone.
Yeah.
So being socially savvy and knowing, to reach back and keep your commitments with people and to communicate. Um, it's something different about men and women that's interesting about social work or working with each other. What is it? Men are better at team building to achieve an objective. Women seem to be better at creating community without a specific purpose. And so you
Okay.
got to ask, which one of those is more important in life? Well, you're going to need both without a doubt. And it's not that women can't do the other, men can't do that, but that's the tendency is we tend to be, what's the mission? And then women tend to be, let's get together. And it's like, yo, you need some of each, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's all very insightful. I like that. And where we go on this journey, doing it alone, keeping ourselves healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Mm,
And and it's not always easy. I broke my leg. My mother was dying and couldn't find anybody to practice, to cover my practice really. So I was almost closed for 2 months.
yeah,
And being able to handle that is a big deal. And even keeping our bodies physically fit. I've had all sorts of injuries and being able to. My personal thing is I don't love gyms. I spent my younger portion of my life in the gym. I smell a rubber mat now. I'm like I'm walking out. But I live in Florida. I can go outside. We're surfing, we're skateboarding, we're doing all the things that we do and
yeah,
keeping our bodies physically fit. And that means our minds too. Very, very important. And where we have that camaraderie. And, we've had meetings in my office 17, 18 years. We've been doing the meetings in our office. And I haven't been doing the past a couple years. I think it's almost 2 years now since we've had one. And I've just started saying, okay, we've got to get back together. I just made a post in our group. One person replied, I'll have that meeting with one person
yeah,
because it's important for us. And that's why I go to things like New Beginnings, Dynamic Essentials, even going to Marty Rosen's seminars and wherever you're around the people that we want to emulate, the people that we want to be around. And, we see those things. I bring my children to them. I just brought
nice,
my children to New Beginnings. I've even brought my children to Marty Rosen's seminar. I want them to be and feel that energy of the people that, I enjoy being around, but also that lift me up when I'm down or I have an opportunity to maybe lift others up. So those are all, I mean, thank you for that. That was very, very insightful. I really do appreciate that.
nice. Yeah, it's another thing I'm realizing as you're talking is that as you connect with people, you can kind of see your own evolution. I went to a different SOT seminar a couple of weeks ago, and I remembered what it was like 25 years ago to be in that room and to see what how I had changed and what I had become, and then also see what is stable. Chiropractic is based on stuff that's timeless. That you have a spine and it probably should be moving.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start there. And then you can start to get deeper and say, when is it when the spine locks, and then how does it lock through that system? That's endlessly fascinating and old. That doesn't change, right? What does change is how we're presenting it. And one of the things I discovered in practice is if you're still using BJ Palmer's printing press to advertise your practice, you're going to be broke, right? We have to update how we're presenting it to the culture, even though the message is the same, right? We have to change the essence of the message is the same. We have to change the words. We have to change the format. I've learned recently, when we first graduated, the 9X Yellow Pages was starting to go down. It was outrageously expensive and less effective, right? And then it became about websites. And now a website, in my opinion, is a must. But it must be to attract people, you really do need social media, whether you like it or not. And you can hire
Oh,
that out,
100%.
but you got to have something to do that. And recently, it was funny. My marketer, Chris Burfield, by the way, give him a shout out. It does Facebook marketing, and he's been bugging me for 3 years to do dinner talks. And I tried that stuff years ago in Massachusetts, and there is regional differences. but they were highly ineffective around this area. And marketers are kind of like goldfish. They kind of forget what they're doing. They come back, hey, you want to do a dinner talk? No, I don't, Chris. We already talked about this. I've been doing it. Hey, I got a great idea for you. I've been thinking about you. We should do that. Chris, you've been bugging me for all right. So finally I snapped on this phone conversation. I said, fine, you know what? I'm going to blow 2 grand trying to run this event and it's not going to work. And then you're going to shut up. Okay. He said, fine. So we set it up. We start laughing, right? Got to have fun. And he's talking about 20 to 30 people coming to this thing. And I stopped him. I said, stop. If you get 20 people to show up in Massachusetts to a dinner talk, I will eat my shoe on camera for you to use as a part of your advertising for the doctors. Okay. On the night, 18 people came and sat down. And so I told him the story because that's a great opening story. I said, listen, I wasn't going to do this, but thank you for being 18 and not 20 because I told the fellow who helped me set this up I would eat my shoe at 20. And right when I finished, 2 people walked in behind me and I said, no, go. And everyone starts laughing. And then I had to let them in on the joke, right? And then they all sat down. So I didn't know that was going to work. I had no idea. And I got 13 people to sign up, right? Now, do they all pay me? No. This is when you start a different funnel of people coming in, your close rate will fluctuate for certain, but it certainly paid for itself. And I had fun doing it. And I think, we're using tried and true old ideas of chiropractic, things like S.O.T, things like upper cervical from BJ's teachings. And so but when we're bringing our practices up, we have to innovate. We have to constantly think of new stuff. And one thing that got me about the resources, time, body, money, sanity, people, is to know which one of those resources you have in abundance. When you're just starting out, you don't have money. You have your health, I hope, after chiropractic
Yep.
school, and you do have time, and hopefully you've gotten some networks and people together, and you're not totally crazy from trying to pass your boards. But maybe you don't have those. Maybe you have these three. So pick the ideas that draw on the resource that you have. If you got a guy that's been out for 30 years and his kids have all been through school and he's just wants to increase but doesn't want to put a lot of time in, that guy has money. That's just one possible example.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, experimentation, innovation, trying stuff, and then a big one is being honest. And that's very, very hard to do, actually, because I don't know about you, but I always felt like I had to stand up and be the essence of the chiropractor, do things the right way. And it's like, so some things don't go like you planned them to, so admitting when something didn't work, I think is very powerful. I mean, that's actually the essence of science, right? Admitting when, oh, look, the numbers say that's actually orange. I didn't expect it to be.
Well, the admitting your mistakes and moving forward and using them for our own empowerment, because it all relates back to caring for the people. And we're talking about numbers and these type of things, but in reality it's all for the people because we want to help them understand. I mean, my wife will tell you I've got a pretty thick skull, but so does the rest of the population when we've been given one level of food, but we didn't realize we had a much nicer buffet over here.
Mhm.
And we've got to get them to understand, hey, your body does the healing. You might have removed a tumor by a doctor, but he didn't remove the reason why it happened. This is a symptom. And so this education process is absolutely paramount, where the doctor knowing who we are, knowing what we do, and having the confidence, because I know I wouldn't imagine living my life without a chiropractic adjustment.
Right.
Whether I can get to an S.O.T guy, which I love to do, or if I can get to an upper cervical guy, a Gonstead guy, or somebody that has the absolute conviction of what I am doing, I know is 100% correct. And that's where I seek out masters for myself for my own care. And, I think that's very important. The general public doesn't know that, but that's why we uplift our profession itself, because
Mhm.
we are literally trying to, not trying, we are actually saving lives. The world doesn't understand that there's no potion, lotion, or injection for it. But in reality, life is highly expressed at its fullest when we're clear of subluxation, interference to the nerve system, and the body's functioning optimally.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I felt like I was a DE for a second. Now I
You
gotta,
know it.
I need some of that. This is great. And it's interesting to hear and reminders of these basic, I mean, that's basic chiropractic right there.
Yeah.
And I had a thought the other day about free stuff, and stuff that's free is marginalized. Okay. Let me give you something that's free. Walking outside in bare feet. When's the last time they're researching that? What do they call it? Grounding now? There's a term for it. I started doing cold plunges recently. Technically, I got you got to pay a little money to set that up, but to throw some ice bath in and get in the cold plunge, that's a wild, basically free experience. Or to take a cold shower, okay, that's pretty wild. Fasting. Who gets paid when you not eating? Nobody. And so there's not a lot of notoriety to it. So the free thing about innate intelligence, the free thing about an open, free nervous system, doesn't get the notoriety. And this is not a conspiracy theory. This is how the world works. If you have a product, someone will figure out how to advertise it, someone will figure out how to research it, and then it will be in front of us all the time and talked about because someone getting paid to put it in front.
That's
Versus
it.
the greatest things that aren't that they don't necessarily profit from, right? Making love with your partner. Is anybody making love when we? Is anybody making money when we doing that? I don't know what you're into, but for me, it's like no, that's a private thing, so no one's talking about it. In that basic sense. I know that we could talk about selling the industry of pornography, but again, that's someone being paid. We're not talking about good loving or good loving with chiropractic care, which, by the way, improves, does it not? So yeah, things like good food, drinking water. I mean, look at this lemon water. This stuff is amazingly powerful. But what are we talking about? You can go to get these different cleansing elements and take these different powders and take these different kinds of drugs
Yeah.
because someone's getting paid. So yeah, and it's right in front of people, these experiences, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard when someone gets adjusted and the free things become more valuable. Well, there's an oxymoron, isn't it? How can something that's free become more valuable? I guess it's the things given to us by the earth become more
Well, it's how we're, how we are programmed in reality. That's a programming that we've received since birth.
valuable.
But, we just have to keep our wherewithal and keep educating and keep serving the people because they deserve it. It's really for the people themselves. And for me, of course, it's for ourselves as well to serve, receive excellent chiropractic care, but it's also for the people in general. Dr. Evan Hughes, I had a great time chatting with you.
I did too.
We had a great day, and I want to thank you. I'm just going to give a couple shameless plugs right now. Uh, November 14th and 15th, we're going to have Innate Newborn Adjusting at Life West in Hayward, California. And then January 31st, we will be at Sherman College of Chiropractic for, again, Nate Newborn Adjusting. Both of them, we're going to have a lot of adult adjusting added into that, adjusting at ease to save the chiropractor so we
Oh,
can do this for years and years and years and years. And then we're making up dates right now for Life University, very likely February or March. We just have to solidify those dates. Dr. Evan Hughes, I appreciate you. Thank you. And it's good to see you, my friend. It's been too
yeah,
long.
been too long.
Have a beautiful day. Oh, and forgot one more shameless plug Synapse Philosophy podcast. We do Tuesday nights, which is tonight, 8 p.m. We're on Dee Dee Palmer's page 825 of Dee Dee Palmer's 1910 book. A lot of juicy spiritual philosophy there. Doc, have a fantastic day. Yeah, that's it. All right. We love it. Thank you very much. We'll talk again soon.